if there's one thing that companies, governments, and countries as a whole need to realise, it's that if people do not feel like they're being treated well, if people do not feel like the conditions are good, they can, and increasingly are, choosing to leave. I've heard a lot of statistics and comments from people saying that they're choosing to leave the UK, for example, and the same appears to be true with a lot of Western countries. And this oftentimes is the high net worth individual population, it's the skilled worker population, it's the young people with a lot of opportunities population. A lot of people choose to leave these countries, citing a number of reasons from economic downturn to they don't like the way the politics is going, or other factors, right? There could be a lot of different reasons. But this is important because as more and more skilled people, natives, people who are residents, were born here or have family ties here, choose to leave, hard workers, high taxpayers, there will be potentially a problem created in terms of the tax system, in terms of skilled labour, and all of these different things. But first we need to discover why this is such an important topic, and why it should be acknowledged that people can and are choosing to leave. So like I say, the actual factors can vary, but the truth is, in today's world, we are more and more connected than ever before. I mean, realistically, the opposite side of the world is what, a 24-hour plane ride away? That's not too long. And considering the fact that a lot of people want to go to Europe, or Africa, or Asia, the time can be even less than that, but realistically, even at the furthest point in the world, we're looking at a maximum of 2 days to get there and back. In today's world, we have people who work partially online, entirely online. We have skills a lot more. A lot more people have meaningful skills like degrees and work experience in technical fields. And a lot of these things like teachers, for example, are in demand abroad. When people don't like the tax structure, the government, or the culture of the place that they are in, they can move. And this is increasingly an option as different countries open up different schemes to people as the global economy becomes more competitive. A lot of countries around the world, it's funny because in the UK, at least from the people that I've spoken to, a lot of people see certain countries around the world as being perhaps of a lesser standard or a worse quality of life or unsafe or this or that, and the actual truth of it is, in 2024, this is increasingly untrue. Some of these places have better roads, better conditions, and all different things that people may or may not like more in terms of quality of life. And as the world becomes more connected, as jobs can move online, and people can therefore move around with their jobs, as more and more people become entrepreneurs as well, there's more of a competition on countries, or there should be, to offer the best policies and the most attractive conditions that they can. As a lot of skilled people who were born in countries like the UK, for example, choose to leave, it's going to become a bigger issue because then what happens? But I guess that is a broader issue and perhaps something that we'll talk about in a different issue, in a different video, but here's the main point. The main point is, for me, this is a fact. This is a reality. I'll give myself for an example. I do make round about the average UK annual salary online. As I start to save and invest and get returns on investments, this is going to become more and more stable, right? Then at that point, you are basically not tied to a specific location. By business, by labour, by work, you have the potential to move. And obviously, remote work, online jobs, working for yourself, being an entrepreneur is not going to be an option for everybody. But then we have things like I say, teaching jobs, which can oftentimes pay more in Europe, or China, or Japan, or even the US, or medical professionals in America, like I say, the US, Canada, and Australia. Oftentimes they go there for better pay and better conditions. This is the more competitive world that we live in, right? And I know some of these may be examples and may not necessarily work out in the real world, but here is what I'm hearing from people more and more. I go off the realities rather than just what we're being told. I hear more and more people who say, right, there is now an option for me in this South American country, or this Asian country, or China, or Thailand, or Japan, for example. And then people will naturally move. A lot of people will. And like I say, the real issue is that these are the skilled people. If the skilled people leave, who do we have left? Who are the taxpayers going to be? This is in itself becoming a more relevant issue as more companies decide to move abroad or list on foreign exchanges. And this is important. This is important because these are the people, the companies, the things which build a country, right? They build jobs, they build livelihoods, they build incomes, they build actual wealth for people. If these things and people and assets are choosing to move to other countries or not come here in the first place or leave for better tax structures, for better pay if we're talking about people, or more chilled lifestyles, what happens? I mean, really, what happens then? Obviously, enough people will stay to make this a non-issue, really. But at the same time, I think this is something worth really speaking about, and I don't think enough people do. The fact that today's world is a lot more competitive than people like to think. And a lot of these countries that we would have traditionally considered to be poor are now what we might call emerging economies, which means that obviously the standard of life is improving, is going to likely continue to improve. And then people say, okay, so I've got, 15, 20, 30, £100,000 in savings or investments in the UK. What would the same yield be if I had that, or even a bit more money, or even a lot more money, in a rental property in this country, or this city, or this place? What if I could take that money and use it as savings and then live off my income because I make an online income? Or what if I could get this qualification and be a company rep who speaks English in this country or that country? Or a teacher, English teacher. Again, this lifestyle isn't going to work for anybody, but I hear this. Maybe it's because I've been making a lot of videos on this very subject, or maybe it's just because it's becoming an increasingly important issue, but I hear this a lot now of people who want to leave, are choosing to leave, and it makes me at least think, right, so then what happens? What happens for the country? What happens for the economy? And, where are all these people going? But I think the reality of it is simply this. We are now in a much more competitive world structure, and some countries, can actually offer some people a better quality of life. Now, obviously, that's not going to be true for everybody. Some people are going to be happy where they are. They're going to have the best opportunities in the UK, the US, Europe. Some people aren't. Some people might make money online, or might have certain qualifications and say, well, why am I here when I could be in this country, getting more money, or getting less money but living cheaper, or getting less money and having a more relaxed life? What is the end game of this? I don't know. But this is what countries, companies, and governments need to realise. Nowadays, people are less and less, of course some people obviously are still going to be, but a lot of people are less beholden to a location, or a city, or a company than ever before. And with this being the broader context, just like any other company, people have the opportunity to choose which country treats them best. Now obviously it's not true for all people. I know this is obviously common sense. And obviously not all countries are going to provide better opportunities. Maybe you're in a trade or a business that pays well in the UK or the US. Maybe you're completely happy as you are. But a growing number of people appear to be becoming dissatisfied and simply are choosing to take their business, their tax revenue, their skills, their knowledge, their profession elsewhere. And this must be something that countries draw attention to fail missing out on further innovation, productivity, investment, growth in the future. This is really, really important, or at least I think it is. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm completely wrong. You guys will, of course, let me know in the comment section, I'm sure of that. Thank you, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.